Remember when Merrick Garland was talking about, wow, there's going to be no retaliation?
Do you commit to me, this committee and the Senate as a whole, that any retaliatory conduct against whistleblowers will be disciplined?
I do, Senator, and you know well, more than any other member of this committee, that I've been a staunch supporter of whistleblowers and of the False Claims Act during the entire period of my role as a judge as well.
Yeah. They never retaliate against those whistleblowers, not in a million years. He's been a staunch supporter. Joining me now, two of those brave whistleblowers, Kyle Seraphin of The Kyle Seraphin Show, and Steve Friend, author now of the book True Blue, which I would highly recommend. In fact, I'd recommend both of them. Steve, a lot of people may not know this, but this is an anniversary too. This is the 1-year anniversary of the day I got an email to my show from this brave FBI guy saying he's had quite enough. What's wrong with you? What were you thinking?
I don't know at this point. I mean, who would have thought that we'd be here right now at this point? But I'm grateful for your generosity, your audience's generosity, and the opportunity to connect with somebody like Kyle. That's definitely, we've separated the wheat from the chaff when it comes to character of people.
We have. I applaud you both, as you well know. Kyle, whistleblowers and whistleblower retaliation, the threat of it is real. Obviously, they can pass as many laws as they want saying, no, there won't be any retaliation. But in reality, there is a lot. Explain what it's like for FBI guys such as yourself and Steve and Garrett and others who come forward.
So, Jesse, they're playing word games, as they so often do. One of the things they're doing is they'll say, we're going to protect whistleblowers, and then they just go and determine that you're not a whistleblower. So Steve's not a whistleblower. I'm not a whistleblower. Everybody's not a whistleblower if it's inconvenient to the regime. You have to come out and make hearsay claims about a president on a phone call that you didn't get on. That's how you become a real whistleblower and you go after and do what the deep state wants. So that's part of it, because I've already been adjudicated in multiple forums as not a whistleblower. That's the first piece. And the second piece, which is probably so critical, is that they're going to make the argument that there's a law in place and then there's no teeth in that law. So what is the punishment that's laid out under the Whistleblower Protection Acts? There's none. There's literally none. It says you shall not do these things. You must not. And the answer to that is if you do, then you face no scrutiny. So that's the big problem, is that when you write a law with no teeth in it, it's just an administrative sort of guideline, and they don't feel any pressure to comply with it. They feel actually very vindicated by just doing whatever they want, and then they just rule you, well, you're just not inside the circle of the people we're talking about.
Steve, have you guys heard from others? Obviously, I don't want details, thinking about coming forward, because we really need a lot more of you. I'm glad you guys are the vanguard, but we need a lot more from not just the FBI, every branch of this government coming forward and saying how bad it is and having their story told, and there just aren't that many.
I have heard from quite a few, actually. I think that they see what's happened to people like myself and Kyle and Garrett, and there's a tremendous amount of fear here. Look, we faced a lot of retribution now at the hands of the federal government. Look, Garrett's story, it deserves to be told. I mean, look, that guy, his transfer was facilitated just to leave him homeless and without his household goods. Myself, my medical information was leaked to the New York Times. They tried to put a gag order on me to prevent me from communicating with an attorney, and then set me up for a felony where they could execute a search warrant and arrest warrant at my house. So this is definitely an out-of-control system that's targeting individuals, and you need to look no further than the recent training that we've learned about that has been brought to us by insiders. And that is the fact that the FBI has combined its training on whistleblowing with insider threat. They used to be separate. They used to be identifying Robert Hanson's and then learning how to be a proper whistleblower and do it the legal way. They've now combined it, and the message is very clear here. They want people within the FBI to be on the lookout for whistleblowers and identify them and bring them forward.
Oh, that definitely doesn't sound like a secret state police agency at all, does it, Kyle?
Not at all. No, the best thing is that anybody who comes to us, and there's a couple of people that have identified problems, they've said, look, if I want to come to you, but also they know that they're going to lose their job over it. It's not even a question like, is this going to be bad for my career? It's assumed that they will lose the job. So they're trying to get their ducks in a row. And that's one of the reasons why we've put together this sustainment fund, which we started on Give, Send, Go. And we got guys like Garrett and Marcus taken care of, but they're going to leave some money in the pot because someone else is going to come out and they're going to lose their job pretty much immediately. They got about 30 more days of pay the minute their name gets public or that the FBI digs them up. And they've fired other people, by the way, than just us. There's others out there that have lost their jobs over it. They just decided to not get really public about it, which I think is a mistake, unfortunately. But everyone makes their own choices. We're not the only ones. The other people have lost their jobs over this stuff.
Steve, why did you guys decide to go public? I'm thrilled you did. One, the public needs to know, too. It's the only protection you might have. But why did you go public? Why not just quit and go be a beat cop somewhere?
Well, I think that guys like Kyle and Garrett, myself, sort of slipped through the cracks of the vetting process that the FBI set up for itself. We came in, we actually understood the oath of office, and it was more than just an iPhone user agreement to us. It meant something to me. I remember very vividly being able to swear my oath of office and call me a nerd or a student of history, whatever you want. But I remember thinking very specifically that this is the oath that somebody like a George Washington swore, and I need to uphold my end of that bargain because I need to honor people like those titans of history. But unfortunately, it's just something that people do. They get along with at this point. And it's just an unfortunate circumstance that we find ourselves in because there is a lot of corruption that goes on. The FBI had itself a week the last couple of weeks. Look, we've got 4 people who were killed at the hands of the FBI in the last 2 weeks alone. And there's been no information forthcoming about that. And that's just the first thing that I got identified. Look what happened 2 weeks ago, where you have Charles McGonigal pleading guilty. You have FBI Director Christopher Wray proven to be lying in front of Congress about the radical traditional Catholic memo. And then my personal favorite, it was the elevation of the special agent in charge from Philadelphia, Jacqueline McGuire. She was the individual who approved of the raid at Mark Houck's residence and then also was involved in a shooting inside city limits of Philadelphia where she herself shot a dog with her gun. Now she's been elevated to executive assistant director over training, so she will have the honor of giving guns to new agents when she doesn't even know the deadly force policy herself.
It's so corrupt and terrible. It's beyond belief. God. Okay, speaking of how corrupt and terrible it is, Kyle, it's not just that we're in a bad spot. It feels like we're a million miles away from a good spot. For instance, we have January 6 people who committed misdemeanors thrown in dark holes for years. And Elvis Chan took his position at the Federal Bureau of Investigation and used it to politic on behalf of the President of the United States of America, having a damaging story censored by social media companies. He's not only not behind bars somewhere, he's living a life of luxury.
Yeah, it seems like the Bureau loves compromised agents. Those are the people that seem to move up in small ways and in big ways. Look, here's a great story. We were just talking about SWAT shootings. There have been 4 of them in the last something like 12 or 14 days. People have heard about what happened in Utah. They've heard about what happened in Tennessee. They didn't know that the day before Utah, somebody was shot in Albuquerque. And 5 days before that, somebody was shot in Philadelphia by the FBI. All the same thing, 0600 SWAT warrants. So one of the things that's really interesting is the guy who ended up being integral in getting me out of my office and taking my gun and my badge from me, was writing up things against me, was a SWAT agent. He was the senior team leader. He'd come out of Baltimore and he had been involved in a shooting that probably was unjustified. He shot at a black unarmed female in the city of Baltimore. You can imagine how well that would go over. And about 30% of his SWAT team quit because they didn't want to have him with a gun behind them. But that guy is in charge of the senior team at the Albuquerque SWAT tactics. He's the guy who's the lead tactics instructor and the guy who signs off on all the SWAT warrants. So they love these sort of people in minor and greater compromised positions. Elvis Chan's a great example of it. We talked about Jackie McGuire, who shot a dog in Philadelphia. She's now in charge of training division. So if you got a little bit of dirt on you, they know you're going to do what you're told because they've got that easy sort of strike to knock you out and take you out of your pension and the paycheck that you've had. And they don't have any other plans. Like most federal agents don't have another plan. They don't have a backup like Steve. Like Steve and I didn't have a backup either, but we also kind of looked around and went like, do I want all of the tyranny or sort of like this really expensive freedom I'm going to get? And we just stepped off into the void and said, that's okay. We've always forged our own way. We'll do it again.
Well, you made the right call. Steve, before I let you guys go, you have this crackpot idea about a disarmed FBI. What are you talking about, Steve?
Well, this is my compromise because I share your sentiment, Jesse. I think the FBI needs to be broken into 1,000 pieces and scattered into the wind. But I'm willing to give the old college try to something where we would essentially defund the special agent position and then force the FBI to partner with local agencies, get their permission to conduct an investigation, get their personnel as the guns in the room, swear them in as task force officers, federally deputized agents. And then when it comes time to make the arrest, it would be, again, on the approval of your sheriff. And that puts a bulwark between you and an out-of-control, weaponized FBI. And secondarily, I think, and I'm going down to Collier County, Florida tomorrow, and I'm going to be speaking out on behalf of a Bill of Rights ordinance for that county where it's going to make it a sanctuary county from FBI overreach. The solution is and always will be local, local, local.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, keep rolling. Rooting for you, as you know. Come back soon.
Thanks, Jesse.
I have great news. If you enjoyed that, I have a YouTube channel you can subscribe to. Whatever I do, it'll be right there on YouTube. So go subscribe today.